Mayfair Investment Club YouTube channel. And now I give a word to Samir.
Thank you so much, Tatiana, and Yonathan, welcome today. I'm super excited to have you as our special guest. So Yonathan, ex-banker, JPMorgan, Bank of China. You left your high-paid job and great career prospects to pursue your passion for social entrepreneurship and philanthropy. You were invited by the White House and the government of India. You've been to places like Tokyo, Davos, UBS Philanthropic Forum, Wealth Beyond Asia Summit, Blockchain for Good. And your company, Horyou, is pioneering in the social good since 2013. And you've managed to build, since 2013, one of the leading international communities for change makers, social entrepreneurs, and social good doers. Now, the big question that many of our audience members will want to know is, where did that idea come from, and what made you so confident that you will succeed in your pursuits?
Well, thank you very much, Samir, for the kind and introduction word, and thank you, Tatiana, for hosting this conference along Samir and the Mayfair Investment Club. So first of all, I think everything starts as an awakening. I had the chance to be, finding a way to interest myself in people, in cultures, in economy. And I started my career in a great firm like JPMorgan. I learned many things alongside its professionals, and I undertake the time of the 2008 crisis. So I was within the industry as a vice president for JPMorgan Swiss in 2008, and the crisis was really a catalyst for me. At the same time, we were managing very well in a conservative manner. So it's not about the performance. It's about, the impact on real society, that speculation and the way where capitalism is maybe losing its purpose and losing its fundamentals that can really destroy value, life, and as well ecosystem. And so for me, that was a great moment of deep thinking. How could I find a way myself as a human being to contribute? And so it took me several years of deep thinking, and then starting to understand that the world is and was already changing. The first dimension was the dimension of connectivity. So with the rising of the technology of internet, which was really starting to gain momentum in the early 2000 years, we saw things changing. And we saw as well that the connectivity was losing an aspect, or was not having an aspect of meaningful connectivity, because the mainstream was trying to mobilize it in a way to maximize humans' interactions. And so that was my first, I would say, the first door I saw as an opportunity for humanity to find ways to think the world of tomorrow and to connect to each other in a more meaningful way, will be about trying to bring that aspect of having platform where people will be able to share inspiration to each other, will be able to learn from each other, will be able to bring knowledge in a circular manner, because those things are the key pillars that will enable us to cope with any crisis that might come in the future. So that was the first element. And the second element was the dimension of impact. The financial crisis can happen and will still happen. Its impact depends on how people are resilient in their daily lives, with their job, with their autonomy, with their creativity, with their ability to have a life that they desire, and as well jobs that inspire them, that mobilize them, and values that can be shared in a more harmonious manner. if we have a system that continue with a very significant gap in terms of value distribution and wealth creation and wealth distribution, then when you have a crisis that strike, of course it starts by the top, but the top will be always capable to withstand it. But the impact, the aftermath, will have absolute destructive, consequences for the civil society in every aspect. And the other element which is key is to think the world globally, because we saw in that crisis 2008, 2009, and other crises that it started at a point at the epicenter, but because of the connectivity of our economies and people, as well as the ability that fear can spread very fast, leveraging social media, then the world is absolutely put on a global base. So all of those elements have conducted me to saw an opportunity in building a social network that will be, and whose main purpose will be to bring meaningful connectivity and to try to raise awareness and bring visibility to the people, initiatives, non-profit, people that we call now change makers or thought leaders, people that can inspire us and help us to find the ways to make this world more sustainable, more inclusive, and more harmonious.
Thank you so much, Yonathan. I think it's fair to say that almost 10 years ago, what your vision and mission was very much ahead of its time. I think we're seeing the huge buzzwords when it comes down, and also application of the impact investments and all elements of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which I believe is a kind of basis of your DNA. There are many questions that we've received ahead of today's session. Many questions I want to personally ask you as somebody who has known you now for a few years, has really seen the sort of trajectory of your development and where you are today versus where you were a few years ago, and where I believe you will be in the next sort of 3 to 5 years. But maybe let's go on this journey that you'd like to share with us today, off the back of a very sort of a short presentation, just for the audience to understand a little bit more what Horyou and what Yonathan Parienti's sort of DNA is about, and the ecosystem, and then we'll come back to some more questions.
So we can go to the next slide. Yes, so our perception of today's reality is that humanity is understanding that we are entering a key moment for not our comfort, but our survival. And if we go to the next slide, we can see some of those challenges that through the United Nations with what has been called the 2030 agenda, a lot of great thinking has been brought together to think within and encompass into 17 global goals that translate some of the challenges that we are living today on the global case. So as you see, the first one being no poverty, so alleviation of poverty, zero hunger, access to health, access to water, quality education, climate change, and gender equality, and many other. So we can go to the next slide. So it's absolutely important to understand that we have now an understanding from governments and officials, and a roadmap that has been defined and signed by more than 180 countries, where everyone agree that this is urgent for the good sake of all of us, everyone on the planet, to find and build new models, which will be about solving the challenges that we know, and as well building the models of tomorrow that will be able to bring more inclusiveness, more, I would say, more access, more meaningful connectivity, more empowerment, and doing that everywhere in the world, supportive of every social classes, every ethnicities, every citizens, every gender. This is the way we can build the world of this new century that we have entered for now 20 years. We can go to the next slide, please. The good news is at the same time we have some elements of hope by the involvement of government and international organizations, but at the same time, the private sector is starting to understand that embracing sustainability, embracing corporate social responsibility is actually well perceived and becoming an edge to build survival, development, expansion of their mission, of their corporation, and as well a positive impact on their employees, on the relationship they will be able to establish with the citizen that will be buying their product or services. So this is now becoming more and more a reality and not something subject to just greenwashing or I would say, you know, like leveraging as just a marketing gimmick, but more as something that can have recognized and respected fundamentals. We can go now to the next slide, please. So at the same time, it is perceived on the corporate side. At the same time, us, the citizen of the world, in our way and our moment where we are engaging and interacting with the private sector as consumers, we are starting to understand that the act of buying is actually an act where we can leverage it into an encouragement, an incentive, a motivation to encourage private sector to embrace the right behaviors and what is actually the sustainable way to bring it for more responsible and more sustainable product services, and as well, you know, like ways where we build business model and we build as well something that is responsible in its supply chain or interactions with the multiple stakeholders that facilitate the private sector to build its offering. We can go to the next slide, Tatiana, please. Thank you. So actually, today, while we all understand that we are facing many challenges, we as well have an understanding that actually there are many good things, many good initiatives that are happening around ourselves. The challenge is a lot of them are actually not interacting one with each other. And so we are sometimes losing a lot of energy trying to do what the neighbor is doing, trying to reproduce something that an organization is already doing, and not leveraging enough the synergies we can build to reach higher resilience and resonance in building this new way to interact with each other. So what is important is how we can synergize, how we can build this meaningful connectivity. And if we go to the next slide, please. So our solutions is to leverage, first of all, with the next slide, please, with the social network, we can connect all the points, the engines of initiatives, creativity, actions, empowerment. We can leverage them into an ecosystem where we will be able to learn from each other, and we will be able as well to bring visibility to what inspire ourselves. So if we go to the next slide, please, that is about having a social network which will be embracing the principles of what is at stake, and which will put in its main focus and pillars of development the aspect of empowerment and a connectivity that will bring and drive hope, purpose, and actions. And so that platform that we have today exists. It has been launched organically since December 2013. It has built many things at local levels. So we are counting now almost 2,000 nonprofit organizations that can share on a regular basis what they do. They can engage with more than 400,000 citizens that are using this platform and connect to the platform on a regular basis. We have now a presence that has been developed in more than 180 countries through our user base. And we have integrated inside the platform the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, where people can share not only about what is dear to themselves, but as well they can share about what is the cause that matter for them and how they are thinking, questioning, interacting, producing, creating on the solutions of tomorrow. And the system we have built includes inside that social network a voting system, which we call the light system, not liking, but lighting, so bringing visibility to what inspires them, ourselves. And so the more light you get, the more visible you are inside the social network, and the exchange of light create the connectivity between the users. So if we go to the next slide, please. Now we will enter the second dimension that I mentioned earlier, which is a dimension of impact. So meaningful connectivity is one dimension, which is bringing a progress toward mainstream social networks and mainstream social media. But this is not enough. With the short time we have ahead of us to make and to reach those goals and to make this world more inclusive and more harmonious versus the challenges that we are facing, we have to bring an aspect of universal impact, and universal impact passes by giving access to purchasing power and ways for autonomy in terms of financing means to citizens. So if we go to the next slide, please, we have created a digital token, what we call as well a digital currency, which is called Horyou token. And that currency is now integrated in our social network, where people will be able to share the cause that matter to them, posting on that, interacting with users, collecting votes from the community. And based on those elements, and based on the number of likes they would receive, which translate into the plebiscite by the community, then they will be able to receive some direct incentives with the Horyou token, which is by extension some potential purchasing power, which will be directly redistributed to them on the sub-wallet we create for every user on the platform, leveraging the blockchain technology as well, make it decentralized in a way where everyone will be able to use it, to access it, and to use it as well on other platforms in a way which can impact and bring impact in many aspects. So if we go to the next slide, please, we will as well connect that ecosystem with a global marketplace, where the aim of that marketplace will be able to use and have access to product that will be responsible, produced locally, or with principles that will be principles in connection with the 2030 agenda. So if we go to the next slide, please, we will as well enable the private sector to join the ecosystem to fund this way to redistribute funding, and through the branding and positive branding and access to our international community of change makers, we will enable as well companies to do communication in a way where their communication is not just communication, but it's as well creating impact, creating traceable philanthropical support on the global cause that has been selected in every industry and in every private company. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we will give an overall access to a constellation of ecosystem. And if we go to the next slide, please, we will be as well to leverage the blockchain technology. So we can continue. Next slide, please. That aspect and the fundamentals of the blockchain technology is that it's decentralized, low cost, and permissionless. And if we go to the next slide, we will go to the specificities of the Horyou token. So the digital token we created have a very unique mechanism, which we call proof of impact. That proof of impact mechanism is that on every transaction on the blockchain that will be happening with the Horyou token, a small percentage which will be comprised between 0.01 to 0.1% by default, 0.05% will be added to the transaction. And that is called proof of impact. This proof of impact will be collected by the Horyou Foundation in Switzerland, which is Public Utility Foundation. And the foundation with its digital wallet will be giving back 100% of the tokens that are collected through that mechanism of philanthropy to the most active users and members on the Horyou platform, including as well the aspect of the main cause that can be selected by the ones that are using this technology. So if we go to the next slide, please. So the aim is really to be able to build an autonomous mechanism where in every aspect of our interactions with our and in our daily lives as citizens, when we are consuming product services, when we are interacting, when we are giving or donating, we will be able to make impact a reality on an automatic manner. And that will include as well the redistribution process, which will be transparent and which will directly impact down to the granularity of individuals. And that's where it is absolutely a revolution, because we are not lacking in the world citizens with ideas, with empathy, with generosity, with commitment to support their communities. What we are lacking is the ways to identify them and to be able to channel direct support to those individuals. And those individuals will be able to impact with a multiplier effect people around themselves. They will be able as well to support them in becoming as well autonomous, becoming social entrepreneurs. And doing that, we are integrating an aspect of giving in every aspect of generating wealth, value, and a creation of impact around ourselves. So we can go to the next slide, please. So we have done many things by integrating the Horyou token inside the Horyou platform, which has been achieved. We have as well developed a Horyou marketplace where people will be able to place their products and services. And this will ultimately, longer term, will integrate as well in payment methodologies, a mechanism, digital tokens, digital assets as a way of transaction. We will be as well working on building partnership to integrate with private sector, thought leaders, the mechanism of philanthropic traceability and transparency of impact in their corporate social responsibility. And we are as well going to continue the actions that we undertake that just happened, one of them this Wednesday, where we will build international conferences and in that current environment that are digital and that are online. So we are capable to share inspiration around ourselves on the right solutions, practices, and thought leadership that can inspire ourselves to build this necessary world of tomorrow. Thank you very much, Tatiana, for the sharing of slides, and thank you for the sharing of thoughts.
Thank you so much, Yonathan. This was very insightful, and I think really has demonstrated what Horyou and you have created over the past 7 years. Now, 180 countries. I really want the second part of the hour to be about 3 particular points. I really would like to understand a little bit more where you're going next and where the opportunities lie when it comes down to Horyou, but also SIGEF conferencing platform that you have created very successfully. So you mentioned in your own presentation 180 countries, all continents, 20 international media partners, major global cities from Tokyo to Davos, etc. So what's really next for Horyou? What are the sort of next steps? What are the opportunities that you are looking to bring to the market in the forthcoming days, weeks, and months? And you know, where do you foresee the future for your own company?
Thank you, Samir. So first of all, to be able to do all of those things, we were very lucky to find some people to believe in the vision, and we have been able to raise more than $12 million and been able to build those tools, those technology and making them interact one with each other. Now we are, and especially in this post-COVID world, the consciousness of people for several months that has been in lockdown, many of us have used that time to question the meaning of our life and what we can do and why we are here. And so it is clear that there is a very significant increase in awareness, consciousness, and willingness of people to make their daily lives more meaningful and more purpose-driven. So the next step for Horyou is to continue to expand organically its community. So we will continue to organize international events, conferences, work on a digital campaign that are raising awareness on many challenges that we are facing. So this is the expansion on the Horyou community. At the same time, we will be introducing to the private sector the Horyou partner offering to enable them to gain access from September and forward to the platform, to be able to share in a dedicated environment and ecosystem what they do and what they stand for. We will be as well giving access to the marketplace for local producers, social entrepreneurs, business people that are doing things in a way which include aspect of responsibility and inclusion. So all of those things will be able to develop. We will be as well building and working to build partnerships. So we are in discussion with some international organizations and some companies to integrate the Horyou token mechanism as a philanthropic mechanism for directly impacting citizens going forward in different regions of the world, and as well with the inclusion of the aspect of the SDGs from the United Nations inside that. So all of those things are the things that we are working with passion on a daily basis with my team and the people that are partnering with us. And of course, the aim is to continue to expand that, and with an aspect of multiplying the impact we can generate. So we will be able as well to accelerate the aspect of inspiration. The learning curve will grow from citizens to citizens, from regions to regions, and as well from the solutions that exist that are supportive of this global mission and global vision.
Fantastic. And you and I have also, what I really like to learn a bit more about is practical elements of people potentially wanting to get involved with Horyou in terms of even the equity position. The company is currently valued, the market valuation of the company is around $150 million US. I understand that as of next week, you will open a small round of the fundraising ahead of the big round of the fundraising in Q4 2020. Could you tell us a bit more about the real opportunity about this next round, why it's designed to be at this kind of almost prehistorical valuation of Horyou post the seed round, and what potential participants in the Horyou equity position could really expect from you as the founder, CEO, but also from the organization, should they decide to come on board and invest with your company?
Well, thank you, Samir. So indeed, we have raised most of the 12 million has been raised at 125 and 150 million from the years 2014, 15, and going forward till 2019. So this was, like where we have raised the higher amount of the assets and the equity for the company. But at the start, when we started on just the idea in 2012, we have raised 1.5 million on a valuation of 6 million. And a year later, when we have shown that the technology was empirical, that we were capable to translate the idea into an internet platform, we have raised then more than 3 million at a valuation of 35 plus valuation. So for us, where we are reaching now, we are entering the field where we have built the offerings, we have built the technology, we have built the ecosystem. We have been able to, over the years, avoid sensationalism, avoid, like the trick that are plaguing the mainstream platform. And so we have something which is very noble and as well very capable to touch everyone in their daily lives on when they want to use technology for good. So that's the first element. So the second aspect on that is getting close to this moment where what will be at stake is the validation of the model, of the innovative model of Horyou. We want to enable to bring on board what we call active partners. People that will not just take a stake and I would say in a nice way sleep on it, but people that want to bring their passion alongside our commitment, that want to mobilize their network, mobilize maybe their company, wants to support adoptions and want to support the new ways to embrace capitalism, but in a way which is more conscious related. So for those people, that will enable us as well to validate the model, which is, if validated, will enable the company to undertake a path toward a pre-IPO and an IPO, and to be able to be listed, to raise more assets and touch more citizens across the planet with its new model. We are doing something very unique in the month of July. We will be opening for a limited percentage the capital of Horyou at 18 million valuation, and that is supposedly for a 10% capital for the group. We will be able to go, in case of oversubscribe, to an amount that might be a little bit higher, but then this will be followed by the end of the year to a round which will be more sizable and which will be at 100+ million valuation, ideally 150 million, what we used to have, or even more depending on the partnership and the value that will be created. So the aim of what we are opening is an opportunity for people that will support us in creating a lot of value for citizens, to have as well the leverage by entering into something which is getting close to the seed valuation, and giving them the opportunity to follow up in the rounds that will be more sizable and more rich valuation-wise by the end of the year. And doing that, for all of those people, we will give them as well an access to subscribe and purchase the Horyou token as a satellite additional tool in terms of investment and impact that they can add up as well to their stake, becoming shareholder into our venture.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jonathan. That sounds a very, very exciting opportunity. And I guess you said it's going to be a limited amount of time. I suspect it will be 2 or 3 weeks. The round will be open from, if I'm not mistaken, 1st of July. And anybody who's interested and keen to learn more will be able to get in contact with you directly to find out a bit more how the whole process will evolve. So I think we'll do a follow-up on that and be able to inform all those who are interested. Now, I also understand that your SIGEF September event is something that will give major companies an opportunity to really get involved and get behind your vision. Could you tell us a bit more about the September event and what it is that you are looking to achieve with the particular event, and where you'd like to see that event actually evolve post the September one?
Thank you, Samir. So indeed, we just had, a great experience, which is a new experience for us this week, where we were very happy as well to add you, like sharing your thoughts and insight on how you see the next gen being oriented toward impact. What is important is what we learn, and that was our idea, is indeed when we do events, and we did, since 2014 event in Geneva with the Swiss Confederation support, Marrakesh during the conference for the climate, Astana in Kazakhstan during the International Expo, Singapore during the ASEAN Summit, Tokyo in 2019, Davos in 2020. Doing a physical event is absolutely a great experience to discover and learn more about the cultures, about more the organization, the stakeholders, bringing people physically so they can inspire, connect, etc. So all of that is absolutely huge. But at the same time, physical event is a tremendous challenge. It is a lot of time consuming. It's as well money consuming. And this is something which I call, it has another side of the coin. With this situation with the COVID, we have learned, and I must say I learned it myself, that I'm capable to stay in the same place for a couple of months, which I lost in view over the last few years, and that we are capable to enable as well people not to travel, but to get access to inspiration with live testimonial and live statements. So the conference we did this Wednesday had a tremendous result with more than 250 stakeholders, change makers joining in absolutely literally all parts of the world. The conference is now live access on sigefonline.com and as well with the replay on YouTube. And we have seen that this was a way where all of those people learning and joining are becoming as well the ambassadors of hope and capable to build bridges for tomorrow. So definitely we will do a next edition. We have been asked by many people to continue this. So we will do a next edition in September. The date will be defined in the coming weeks. This edition will be about youth empowerment. It will be about as well a climate impact responsibility. It will be about disruptive technologies. And we will be able to bring on board for a full day of conference stakeholders again from all over the world. This will be as well matching with the United Nations Week. And that is a way absolutely amazing to learn from each other. Because again, a lot of things are happening. We don't need to reinvent everything. A lot of things are happening and we just need to connect the dots and to learn to build genuine and real partnership between people. If we do that, of course, in a way which will be circular and inclusive, if we do that, we will be able to speed up the aspect of adoptions of awareness and consciousness and more responsible behaviors. And we will as well be able to speed up the inclusive development, the wealth sharing, and the aspect of empowerment of the young generations that are going to build the world of tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yonathan. Let me bring in a question from the audience. Could you please go in depth on wealth creation for good and what environment is like for young investors and entrepreneurs these days? And what opportunities are opening up for them, in your opinion? A question both for me and you, but why don't you start?
So the first element is we have, and this is part of my past life as an investor for major groups, we have seen wealth creation as static. We were choosing, a company, and we were hoping that the company will be able to maximize its model of wealth creation. And we are forgetting that if we are destroying the ecosystem that enables the wealth creation for the company to be happening, actually the wealth creation is not sustainable. And even if the stock prices might reflect otherwise for a certain period of time, which is the phenomenon of bubble, at some point, the harsh reality will come. And if we are building a world where there is no sustainability, there is no middle class, there is no access for people in emerging economies and emerging countries for them to develop themselves and to feel they are belonging to the future, then ultimately we will be seeing a downfall of all the stakeholders, all the players that are now the leaders. We will see wealth destruction. And this is why it is so easy during what we call a crack, a sell-off. It is so easy to lose hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in less than an hour of quotation. Because if there is no trust, if there is no willingness to believe in the future, then everything can be just like wiped out very easily. So the most important thing to understand is the real value creation. It's a value creation when you generate it with your company, you have a responsibility as well to support others around yourself, the population, the local populations, the people that are interacting on the supply chain aspect. And at all levels, you have a capability to give back a little fractions of what you generate. And by giving back, you are actually building the highest wealth for you, for your brand, for your company, for your employees, and as well for the stakeholders and people that are interacting with yourself. So that's a way for me to see sustainable wealth creation and not just one-off or static wealth creation. The real wealth is a wealth that includes an aspect of giving, of sharing, and then you invest by the giving in people, you invest in them, you invest in the new generation, and by doing that, they are going to build the conditions for your enjoyment of the fruits of your involvement and your commitment alongside your career and your past. So that's one of the elements of the question. Another aspect might be about understanding that by undertaking the crisis we see that is not reflected in the stock market price at the moment, this crisis that has been experienced, which is massive in terms of job destructions. Many companies will be suffering because they are part of old models or models where the aspect of resiliency is quite limited. This is a major challenge that we are facing, but at the same time, this can be a speed up for adoption of new models. And this is where the opportunity lies ahead of us. For the ones that will be able to understand that there is a real change, there is no back to normal. People have to understand back to normal is back to chaos or back to destruction. Back to normal is just a way, a short way of not thinking what is happening and what will happen. We have not to go back to normal, we have to go back to the future and building the future in a way where we are learning from each other, and we will be able as well to bring new models which will be inclusive and which will be empowering people at all levels. And by doing that, we will be creating new wealth, and that wealth will be much better because it will be touching people that are contributing in generating that wealth. And this is where a group, an initiative like us, like Horyou, in its all mechanism and fundamentals, in its models, we are thinking that from the very, very beginning. That's why, and as you mentioned earlier, sometimes bringing an idea too much earlier can be really an act of faith. But this is an act of faith which is absolutely necessary and rewarding in a way that we are doing something which might be taken over by others. But this is what is important, to understand that we have people that have preceded us, that inspire ourselves, and we will be able as well in our journey on this planet to inspire new generations. And if we are capable to do it like this, there is a real chance that through technology, through creativity, whatever is the size of the mountain to climb, we will be able to find the way to climb it and to go on the other path, which will be a path of harmony and sustainability, where everyone will have a role to play and will be able to live in dignity for generations to come.
Thank you, Yonathan. The question was for both of us, but I'm so pleased that you've answered the question also posed to me, because what you said, I very much agree with. And I think that the kind of ethos and the mission of Mayfair Investment Club is very much alongside the lines of what Horyou is really promoting or has been promoting for a long time, which is really the next generation that is currently amongst the young adults coming out of universities or doing their own first startups, really understanding the power of connectivity, community, blockchain technology, which is something that I really believe in. What you say with technology and blockchain for the greater good is something that's very much happening and becoming the new reality. And I'm very much in agreement with you that the current status of whatever it is during this pandemic is the new norm. And it's something that going back to the old norm doesn't really exist. And I think the sooner people understand and realize that, the better it's going to be for all of us. Now, before I ask a couple of other questions from the audience, I also want to ask you this question for all those who might be watching now, who we might be watching in the forthcoming days and weeks, who might be contemplating coming on board of your journey and being your sort of supporters, partners, equity holders. Could you tell us a bit more about your own entrepreneurial journey and maybe the moments, the real moments when you perhaps had doubts, as most entrepreneurs do, and what actually gave you the courage and a sort of encouragement to get over any of the doubts and any of the sticking points of the business from 2013 all the way to 2020 that has made you who you are today and made you believe more than ever that you are on the right path to success.
Well, thank you, Samir. Thank you. And indeed, if we are connected today, it's because there is a clear resonance between yourself in your position of chairman and the Mayfair Investment Club and Horyou and what I'm doing. So we look for many people that are passionate by investment to be able to understand that embracing impact, embracing sustainability and responsibility and responsible investment is actually the future. It's not like a waste of time. It's actually the future. And if they do it genuinely, they will be, on their terms, outperforming versus, non-equivalent, approach or strategies. Regarding the personal journey, I must say I'm very grateful. I had, absolute great mentors during my career, and I've been able to be acquainted with the understanding a little bit of how the financial system works, what investing means, what is understanding what is about innovation and bringing things and building things in a way which will be serious. We created the company and the group in Switzerland. It was a choice because we wanted to be with a country originally which is neutral. We want to be able to speak with anyone and be able to bring solutions for the local populations everywhere. So that was one of the first elements. It was, to be able to make a choice of geography in the aspect of choosing Horyou. So in that regards, the people we have interacted at the Swiss level were always supportive, only just for the first forum we did in 2014, which was kind of the validation of the reality of what we do. So we were lucky on some aspect to find investors, to be able to structure things in an organized corporation with multiple capital increase, with deployment of valuation, with expansion of valuation, with as well multiple initiatives, and some of them being visible. So this is very key for ourselves because we see that what we do as a real ground. When I saw people, 100, 1,500, 2,000 people coming from all over the world in the first forum we did at the Center of Conference of Geneva, I was touched. And we were with the other shareholders and investors there. And I told them, guys, it's very simple. We have to see it with our own eyes and to see if what we do, what we want to do as a real ground, and if people believe in what we want to achieve. And when we saw that, we were planning maybe to connect people physically, but we had nothing to do. People were there, they already connected together, they were already building a partnership, wanted to interact. And you have some images of SIGEF 2014 on YouTube, so you can feel the energy, the immense energy of generosity that happened at that moment. For me, that was one of the best days in my life, because at that day, I really felt hope was not an utopia in my brain, but it was starting to be a reality with very deep roots that would be supportive for the journey to come. And at the same time, I want to share with, and in particular with the young audience, that being an entrepreneur is something which is absolutely total in your life. Some people might believe they can be entrepreneur at 10% of their time, 20% of their time, or something like that. The reality is it will take over your life. It's about giving your life for a cause that you believe. Otherwise, this is not entrepreneurship. This is opportunistic investment or opportunistic commitment. But when it's about being an entrepreneur into something where it is coming from the inside and you feel this is what you want to share with people around you, that you want, by building it, to serve a higher purpose, then this is going to be absolute in your life. You are going to be understanding what is the humility path of the penitent. So this is something which will be challenging. This will be sometimes speaking and speaking again and speaking again, and sometimes having no echo or being too much in advance of the awareness of the global, awareness of people. And so my point here is to say, believe in your dreams. Believe in your dreams and act to make those dreams a reality. Because when you will be living that moment, every day, even if the dream is not yet at hand, you are living the path to reach your dreams by contributing to something you believe. And that is something no one will be able to take you back those things and those feelings. And especially if you have the opportunity to do something meaningful that bring you to other people and to learn from them, this will be an absolute meaningful journey. So I'm very grateful for the many change makers I've met, the very humble people I've met in all the continents and countries I've traveled in, the people that are doing on a daily basis amazing things in the, I would say, the backstage of their humility. And those people are the reason why we are doing what we do, that we have never give back hope and our commitment. And that's why I believe that Horyou will be able to open new doors, will be able to inspire new models, new stakeholders, and will be able to interact and build synergies with others. And all together, we will be able to see that new world in this new century being written by people in a real aspect and in a real life for others. So that's my, in a very short, the aspect I can share about my personal journey.
Thank you so much, Yonathan. I think I will just ask you one last question before we hand it over to Tatiana to, I think, sort of finalize the sort of today's session with the final remarks. And the question is very much something that we've already discussed on the previous forums and webinars, and I'd love to hear your opinion, because I think the question is about your opinion on the blockchain technology, which you've talked about, but more importantly, its boom during this pandemic, and the fact that for organizations like yours, I wouldn't like to say it's a godsend in the sense because it's costing us lives around the world, but it's also creating many, many opportunities for the right organizations that have done the right amount of work up until the pandemic and can really now almost leapfrog into the sort of highest realms of success. So why do you think it's really being beneficial? And maybe take a minute to minute and a half so we can hand it over to Tatiana.
So I think what you say is absolutely paramount. I believe that there are two aspects which is showing that things are changing and there is a huge opportunity on those relative two fields. The first one is digitalization. So we have clearly seen that the world, while we were in lockdown, continued thanks to the digitalization. And so the models that will embrace that will be definitely, like benefiting from that and will be able to evaluate on that, evolve, and as well, maybe create the new ways as well to be non-digital. I think we will be able to favor the digital player, but as well, the one by digitalization, they will become new stakeholders and they will go back to reality initiatives, but learning from that. So that's one of my beliefs. The second belief is about blockchain technology. We saw with the crisis that many governments and many OECD and key countries have acted in a very swift way, which is good. They have been able to interact in a smart manner with their central banks, which is good. But at the same time, printing money in a way which is unlimited and having this not like with the first purpose, which is like to provide support for the direct citizens or the individuals, but to make sure that the system does not collapse. I understand it, but it has a consequence. The consequence is that the paper money is gradually going to lose its value one to each other. Maybe it will be neutralizing because, of course, there is not one key player, whether the US, Europe, or Japan, and many other stakeholders, country-wise, are creating money. They are trying their best. All of that will have a consequence at one point. Giving money to major groups that maybe their model is not evolving or not sufficiently committed for giving back and doing it in a more responsible manner. I think the states, again, are reproducing the same mistake that what they might have done and what they have done in the 2008-2009 crisis, which is providing liquidity with no requirement. The minimum is you provide money, you help, which is great, but at the same time, you should be able to ask on the roadmap that they will be engaging and committing themselves, the groups, to build something which is good for their communities and the people on the ground. So I think that is something where the blockchain technology and what we call the digital assets, which I believe very strongly, I believe this new asset class, this is a new asset class, and this will be at some point considered in everyone's portfolio. So I strongly believe that this will be mostly, like something which will become a reality when people will start to adopt in their daily lives digital assets which have a real meaning and a real purpose. That's why I believe that some projects which are just technical projects, just performance oriented, will have a lot of challenges going forward in the future, which is absolutely normal. But some of the players that are bringing solutions like we are trying to with the usage of blockchain technology for trustable impact, and where every transactions make a purpose a reality, supportive, like of people interaction on the social network. Those things are leveraging and trying to be built. And that's why I call it blockchain with a purpose. It's about leveraging technology for impact. When it's about that, I believe that some of those projects will be going forward over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, adopted. And so this might become the new paradigm for internet. It will be maybe the new evolution of internet with new groups which should become the new giants. And hopefully some of those groups will be aspiring to contribute, not just to create wealth, but to have wealth which will be as well shared at multiple levels, and which will be impactful and in a respectful manner for our life ecosystem and as well for citizens on the planet.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Over to you, Tatiana.
Thank you, Yonathan and Samir, for an interesting conversation. And before we end this session, I would like to ask you both to take 60 seconds each and share some suggestions to young people who are just about to join the investment world. So we can start with Yonathan.
Thank you, Tatiana. So I would say be very curious, try the best to learn and to read, but at the same time, don't underestimate the power of sharing experience by asking the elders, by on every opportunity, in every of your traveling, to go and to learn from people. Ask questions, don't be afraid. And as well, don't be afraid to express your gratefulness, because this is a gem. By receiving the generosity of people sharing their thoughts, experience, you can express to them something which is going to make them very happy of the process of sharing. And so I think that aspect is absolutely key. The curiosity, the gratefulness, the aspect of going for the other to learn from them. And the second aspect will be about try to find what is deep in yourself. Don't fall for the superficial aspect of the consumer society. Try to find what is deep in yourself and what is meaningful, very deeply meaningful in your life. What are the causes that are dear to yourself? And based on that, you will be able gradually to draw the road map of what you want to achieve in life and what you want to support people into in their own life.
Thank you, Samir.
Thank you, Yonathan. And I will say pretty much a similar thing that I said last Wednesday at Yonathan's SIGEF event, is that for anybody sort of interested to come on board and turn themselves into the investors of tomorrow, I think you've got to sort of understand that you're never too big or too small to make a change and make an impact. And many people don't fully realize that investment these days with a purpose, that sort of impact they can create on today's local community, but also the world at large, goes a long way. However, one's got to, as Yonathan mentioned, really be open up to learning, to being educated, and also sharing the knowledge and experience they already have. Doesn't matter if you're 20 or 30 or however old you might be. I think we all have things to contribute. We have the experience we bring to the table. We have been mentored and we will be mentored for the rest of our lives, and we will continue to mentoring the next generation. So I think it's very important to surround yourself with good mentors, with the good networks, to continue learning and developing way post your education and formal studies, and really never stop in that process. And continue looking for opportunities that are perhaps outside of your comfort zone. Connect with people around the world. I think we are today learning on a global scale, and this is why I believe that educational technology, the new edtechs, are really giving us a huge opportunity to learn from case studies and real studies and the real people around the world that have built very successful businesses. So yes, that would be my sort of advice. Just keep on learning and keep on developing.
Thank you, Samir and Yonathan, for sharing your experience and your knowledge. I wish you a lovely weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Samir.
Thank you.
Bye.